Hello, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Very warm welcome to our UN Tourism Amadeus webinar. I wish good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are. We will probably have some more colleagues entering. Just as a housekeeping announcement, in our next hour, we will be discussing travel insights from the Americas as provided by UN Tourism and also Amadeus. This is a partnership that has been started with our affiliate member Amadeus that we're very happy with because it does allow us to provide to member states and to the industry at large updated information on travel trends that will allow them to plan and manage better their tourism activities and strategies. My name is Sandra Carvalho. I'm in charge of market intelligence, policies and competitiveness at UN Tourism. And what you will hear today is the report that I just mentioned we published with Amadeus. It's the second of a series. We launched the first one in January. This has been updated now, very recent for our commission meeting in the Americas, and a new one will be available for all of you in September. This allows us to have a very close watch to the market and allow us to actually empower our member states with data and market intelligence, which is one of our big functions. I want to take this opportunity before we start to thank the colleagues in Amadeus for the fantastic partnership we're having. This webinar will be also available for everyone afterwards if you want to share with your networks, and also the report during the presentation, you'll have the link to download it, explore it further, and to have any questions you might want to send to us afterwards as well. So today, besides this quick welcoming from my side, we will hear from our director for the Americas, Mr. Gustavo Santos, and also for my colleague, Javier Ruescas, program officer at our department, but also for Mrs. Caterina Pintos, who's a destination intelligence director at Amadeus. Also, feel free to take note of any questions you might have. We'll be here to answer them and to provide you further details if you are interested. So without any further ado, I would just like to ask my colleague to play the video of Mr. Gustavo Santos, who could not join us on this occasion, but wanted to make sure that he would leave us his message before we share the highlights of our data.
Estimados participantes, sean todos bienvenidos a este webinar sobre el informe de las tendencias de viaje 2024 enfocado en las Américas, que hemos elaborado conjuntamente entre ONU Turismo y Amadeus, a quien agradecemos enormemente su colaboración. A medida que el mundo recupera su pasión por viajar, la industria del turismo se prepara para una nueva era de descubrimientos. La alianza de ONU Turismo con Amadeus para la elaboración de este informe surge de la necesidad de proporcionar a los destinos un análisis prospectivo de las tendencias del mercado para facilitar la toma de decisiones y al mismo tiempo para apoyar a los operadores del sector, brindándoles la información necesaria para impulsar la demanda de los viajes y proveerles de una herramienta para que promuevan el desarrollo sostenible de sus destinos y sus comunidades. Este seminario virtual tiene como objetivo dotarles de una inteligencia de mercado integral que les brindará una plataforma para profundizar en aspectos claves para el sector. Durante esta sesión, que será interactiva, obtendrán información valiosa sobre las tendencias emergentes, los patrones de reserva y las expectativas cambiantes de los viajeros. Les deseo una interesante y fructífera sesión y quiero agradecer mucho a nuestro Departamento de Competitividad e Inteligencia Turística y a Amadeus por el fuerte trabajo realizado a favor de nuestros destinos.
Well, this is a message, as I mentioned, from our director for the Americas, putting the framework of the relevance of the data and the information that will be provided to you today. But also, I'd like to reinforce what he mentioned. We hope this to be an interactive session. So please do take notes while you're following the presentation so we can hear from you at the end, and we'll be here to answer any questions, any doubts that you might have. So without any further ado, I would like to ask my colleague Javier Ruescas from our department, who will share with you the overall trends from the UN tourism perspective on how globally we're seeing the world going as we recover from one of the worst crises we've ever lived. So Javier, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Please, anybody let me know if you can't hear me correctly. I'm Javier Ruescas, as Sandra mentioned, from the Market Intelligence Policies and Competitiveness Department. I'm going to give you a brief overview of the latest data on international tourism trends based on our main research report, which is the World Tourism Barometer, which we publish 4 times a year. We're currently working right now on the May 2024 update. So the data you'll see now that I'm going to share with you is the data for the year 2023, and it includes the latest information up until February approximately. So I don't know if you can see my screen. Let me just increase, put it on screen mode. So there we go. So I'm just going to run quickly through some of the data that I just mentioned. We in the World Tourism Barometer, we mostly analyze international tourist arrivals and tourism receipts, which are both inbound indicators of international tourism. So in this first graph, you can see the evolution of international tourism in the last 22 years approximately. So since the year 2000 up until the year 2023. You see a constant, rather steady increase in international tourism demand and therefore international visitors all the way up to 2019, where total arrivals reached almost 1.5 billion. So 1,462 million international arrivals. That's overnight visitors. Then the pandemic came in 2020, and you can see there a big drop, 72% decline in international arrivals from about 1,400, as I mentioned before, to about only 400. Small recovery in 2021, very timid actually. And then in 2022, arrivals started to recover to 960. And then last year, 2023, almost 1,300. You can see this information in this slide better, which shows the percentages of international tourism recovery. So if we start from 2019, that's like the reference year with 100%. You can see that arrivals declined by 72% in 2020. They remained 69% below pre-pandemic levels in 21, and they recovered about 2/3 of pre-pandemic levels in 2022. You can see there in the graph next to 2022, it says 66%. And then last year, we saw an 88% recovery. We're actually working on the data now based on the latest results published by many of the countries. This might be a slightly higher, but it's around that, around just below 90% recovery. In this slide, you can see the monthly change in international tourism from the year 2020 up until now compared to 2019. So you can see the big drop there in 2020 with declines of 90, 88, 89% in those critical months of the beginning of 2020 when the pandemic first started with the outbreak. Very timid recovery, as I mentioned before, in 2021. The year 21 saw the best results in the month of October, with the arrivals still 54% below pre-pandemic levels. And then in 2022, a very strong, encouraging recovery, with arrivals reaching 86% of pre-pandemic levels in July. You can see towards the center right of the screen just under the month of July in 2022, that arrivals were 24% below pre-pandemic levels. And then finally, on the right-hand side of the graph, you can see the evolution of monthly arrivals in 2023. So arrivals reached 92% of pre-pandemic levels in July, in September, and in October 2023. That means there was a 92% recovery. We've shown in this graph our prospects for the year at the beginning of the year in green and orange. You see the green dotted line shows a little bit of a optimistic prospect for the year, and the orange line was the more pessimistic line. And then you can see the blue line, which is the actual data right in the middle. So we were approximately right in our projections for the year. This graph shows the same information for 2023, but for the different world regions. So at the right-hand side, you see the world with 88%. But starting on the left, the strongest performing region was the Middle East, with arrivals 22% above 2019 levels. Africa also recovered almost 100% of arrivals, with the recovery at 96%, Europe at 94%, and the Americas at 90%. Asia Pacific has been slower to recover, with only 65% last year because of the slower reopening and stricter measures in terms of COVID restrictions in that part of the world, especially Northeast Asia. So this map shows the same information. I won't go through the individual numbers, but you can see this is interesting to see for the geographic classification of our UNWTO regions, UN tourism regions. The Middle East, for example, as you can see in the map, covers part of some African countries in the north. So you can see there the data that I just mentioned. Here we put together some of the best performing destinations in 2023 based on data for the first 10 to 12 months. So in some cases, countries have only reported, let's say, 11 months of the year. In other cases, only 10. And in a few cases, also the entire year. In red, you can see the countries from the Americas, the best performing countries in the region of the Americas. So the island nation of Turks and Caicos stands out there at the top with arrivals almost 180% above 2019 levels. Very strong performers among bigger destinations were El Salvador with 40% above 2019 levels, Colombia, the island destination of Curacao, the Dominican Republic with arrivals already 25% above 2019 levels last year, and then some other small islands. The same information in this graph, but only for the Americas, as this webinar is dedicated to the region of the Americas. You see some of the 10 best performing regions, which I mentioned before, summarized in this graph. This slide shows the same information, but in terms of receipts. So not in terms of total visitor numbers, but in terms of earnings, visitor spending in these destinations. Again, you can see the destinations in the Americas highlighted in red. So El Salvador is the best performing region in terms of earnings, with earnings already over double, so more than double above pre-pandemic levels. The island of Grenada was also a strong performer, and Nicaragua was also a strong performing region. You see a lot of blue there actually in this slide, which means that there's a lot of destinations from Europe, which performs particularly well in terms of earnings. Again, the same information in terms of receipts, but for the Americas, Salvador, Grenada, Nicaragua, Belize, Canada. It's interesting that many of these destinations not only recovered pre-pandemic levels in terms of receipts, but they really surpassed them in double digits. So you can see all of these 10 best performing countries have receipts growing in double digits above 2019 levels. Okay, just to finish a couple of slides comparing arrivals and receipts. So this graph is very similar to the one I showed at the beginning of my presentation. The blue line shows the evolution of international arrivals in millions, and the green line shows the evolution of international tourism receipts meaning international visitor spending in destinations in billions of US dollars. So you can see a very similar trend. The green line is usually higher than the blue line because the average visitor spending per international trip, is usually higher than $1,000, meaning that most of the years in this graph, the average spending per international trip was above 1,000 US dollars. The recovery of receipts has been stronger than the recovery of arrivals after the pandemic, as you can see there. And that's in large part due to the fact that receipts per arrival actually increased during the pandemic. So this graph shows the recovery in terms of receipts, very similar to the graph I showed earlier for arrivals. So while arrivals had recovered 88% in 2023, in the case of receipts, it's about 93%. This is a forecast, and we still don't have the final data. We will in a couple of weeks when we publish the May 2024 barometer. This is an interesting graph that compares both arrivals, which is the blue line, receipts, which is the green line, and tourism direct GDP, which is the overall direct contribution of tourism, both by international and domestic travelers to domestic economies around the world. And you can see that the actual figure for the tourism direct GDP has actually recovered already 2019 levels, with 3.3 trillion US dollars in the year 2023. And this is just the preliminary estimate, but we will update this with more recent data later this year. So to finish some of the, very quickly, some of the results of our UN Tourism expert panel survey, where we asked experts around the world how they believe tourism will perform in their destination in the year 2024. As you can see, over 67% of panelists believe that the performance of tourism in the destination will be better or much better, which is very encouraging. About 28% believe it'll be the same, and just about 6% think it'll be worse. So that's very encouraging prospects for this year, 2024. Similar question regarding the recovery of international tourism in the destination. So almost 40% indicated that international tourism had completely recovered pre-pandemic levels. 30% believe it will do so this year, and only just under a third, so 31%, think the recovery will take place in 2025 or later. Many of these experts pointing to 2025 or later, actually from Asia and the Pacific destinations, where, as I mentioned before, international tourism was a bit slower to recover. I will finish with this list of economic and socioeconomic, demographic, or other factors which experts have indicated have been the main obstacles to the recovery of tourism in their destination. You can see that high transport and accommodation costs, as well as overall economic factors, have been the main obstacle to the recovery in most of the destinations. But of course, you can see the conflicts also, such as the Israel-Hamas conflict, the Ukraine war, also being mentioned by experts, as well as, to a lower degree, travel restrictions still in some parts of the world, as well as congestion or flight delays, which are mentioned also by some of the experts. To finish, this graph shows the prospects for the year 2024. So the blue line is monthly arrivals, percentage change compared to 2019 up in 2023, up until the last year. And the green line there shows our UN tourism projection for the year 2024. We expect international tourism to surpass 2019 levels by about 2%. I'll leave it with that, and if you have any questions, please let us know. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Javier, for giving us that first overview of where we are at the global level, and just maybe highlighting the fact that worldwide we ended 2023 at around 88% of the levels pre-pandemic. The Americas was already at 90%. So very much recovering quicker than other regions, but also but two of the sub-regions, the Caribbean and Central America, were already above the pre-pandemic levels. So from a global perspective, this is what we wanted to share with you. And I'm now very happy to welcome Caterina Pintus from Amadeus, who will share with you in detail the latest insights from the report. And again, afterwards, note your questions. We're here to answer them. Caterina.
I thank you, Sandra. Let me just share the screen. Okay, can you see my screen? Okay, perfect. So hello, everyone. Very happy to be here today. And first of all, I would like to thank the Regional Director for the Americas, Gustavo Santos for the UN Tourists, Sandra Carvalho from the Insight team, and really all the team at the UN Tourists for their passion and commitment to the competitiveness of the region and to really give us the opportunities to partner for the creation of these reports. And I would also like to thank you all for participating here today. I'm Caterina Pintus, and I lead the Destination Insight team here at Amadeus for Destination, and I do work hand in hand every day with several destinations around the world to really support the use of data in the developing of tourist strategies. Here at Amadeus, we are really at the service of the needs and challenges of governments, which is why we are really pleased to partner with to have partnered with the UN Tourism to produce these reports, which we really believe provide invaluable insights to navigate an ever-changing tourist landscape and really provide information for each of the sub-region of the Americas. At Amadeus, we really drive technology, travel through technology, but Amadeus isn't just a tech company, we're really a community at the heart of traveler. Originally, a global distribution system that was connecting airlines with travel agencies and tour operator, we have over the years branched out to include and cover many aspects of the travel ecosystem, from providers to sellers to eventually the travelers. And now today we work with more than 400 airlines, we work with airports, we work with travel agencies, we work with mobility and travel insurance providers, and of course we work with a lot of different DMOs. These networks allow us to support our customers and travelers throughout every stage of the traveler's journey, from the initial dreaming and inspiration phase of travelers until the moment a traveler returns back from their adventure. And we really believe that data are key at each step of this traveler journey. At Amadeus, we have this unique capability of offering a comprehensive insights into air travel trends, including air searches, capacity, number of flights, number of bookings, and traffic. And to correlate this demand, this insight with the hotel occupancy and demand. All our data are forward-looking and hence provide a monitoring on what will happen in destination in the future, and which really provides destination with insight to stay on top of the game. And this is also what you will see in the report, as we really have analyzed data for each of the sub-region following the traveler journey of the travelers. In particular, in the report, we will analyze data for the period from May to August 2024, which means that we have conduct an overall review of the performance for this period before this period started, to really provide you with a forward-looking trend. We really believe in the power of forward-looking trends, on the power of perspective data, because we really believe that then provide destination with a crystal ball to understand what is going on in their destination and who will travel on the destination. I think, however, that when you read the report, it's important that you read this insight, but also that you take this insight and then apply it and integrate it into the work culture. Today, we face a tourism industry where we have a saturated ecosystem with a lot of competitiveness in promoting different destinations. It is extremely important, though, to make decisions not only based on data, but also applying tourism intelligence to understand the ecosystem we are competing in and where you want to promote your destination. For us at Amadeus, we always say that putting the traveler at the center of the travel experience is what drives us, because we really believe in a travel experience that is meaningful and that revolves around the travelers. And we really believe that using data is key to realize this vision. Let's then start our journey into the data. When we work with destination, we always suggest to start the planning from the air searches data. Why air searches are important? Because they allow us to understand the potential interest of users in different parts of the world. What, for example, if reading the data, I discover that there are users that are searching for air travel to my destination, but I don't have air connectivity, for example. It's a potential demand that I could leverage on, and that will present an opportunity for me to deep dive into it. So this is why we also decided to start the report and to start looking at the data by looking at what are the most popular destinations in the Americas region. So as you see here on the graph, the ranking are still pretty similar compared to 2024, with the US, Canada, and Mexico maintaining their leading position. What we see also is the interesting change in ranking of Peru and Chile, which are both gaining one position. Beyond the top 10, we also see a very good increase of interest to the Caribbean destination, which I think it's in line to what we have seen in the UN Tourism Barometer data, where we see Caribbean destination really increasing in the ranking, with destination as Aruba, Curacao, Barbados, and Caicos really improving the ranking compared to 2023. Another good indicator of travel demand to a destination is booking, as booking really provides us information on passengers that have already purchased their tickets to visit a destination. So these are visitors that are sure that have been converted and that will come to our destination. If we look at the summary of the top booking destination, which is what you have here on the slide, we see that similar to searches, we see similar trends, and we see that on the top 5, there hasn't been really a change compared to the previous year. What we see that while the US, Mexico, and Canada maintain the leading position, what is interesting to observe is the significant growth of South American destination, with Brazil, Peru, and Argentina now being among the top 10. But also beyond the top 10, we see a strong performance of Chile that is increasing in the ranking. I would say that overall, we see a very positive growth across the Americas region, as we see all the travel indicators for the whole region up compared to 2023 levels, which I think is also confirming the trends we have seen from the previous year. And these positive trends really indicate a positive recovery in the travel sector. North America is leading, is the most searched sub-region in the Americas, followed by South America, Caribbean, and Central America. So now I think without further ado, I will move forward to present you the trends and the data for each specific region, sub-region. So here, what we are seeing in the slide is the trend for the North America sub-region, and travel interest. We can say that overall travel interest to North America remain stable. And from the search data, unsurprisingly, we see that the US is the most searched country, with New York and Los Angeles among the top popular destination city. We also see an increase in interest for Canada, with Toronto also being among the top search cities. In terms of origin markets, the UK it accounts for the origin market with the highest level of searches for trip to North America. However, I think that the interesting trend here is what we see beyond the top 5, where we see an increased interest of travel to North America from Asian countries. We have seen just now with the data from the UN Tourism that Asia is still not completely recovered, and this is also due from to the later ease in restriction after the pandemic. However, here we see an increase in interest with China, countries like China and Japan really searching for trip to North America, and I think this is also due to the fact that connectivity has been restored, and there are routes that are opening and are being restoring since the beginning of 2023, but with an uptick by the end of 2024 and beginning of 2024. And this demonstrates also the correlation that you have between connectivity and travel demand. In terms of traffic, Europe continues to be the region with the highest level of traffic than European, and this means that the routes between Europe and the US are the busiest ones. It's also interesting to notice in terms of bookings on the top, on the bottom right of the graph, that the US cities continue to be the top booked destinations, gaining market share over Cancun in Mexico. This shift is also linked to traveler behavior, as we what we have seen is that last-minute bookings are more common for beach destination, while for city break, the travelers tend to plan a little bit in advance. And just as a reminder, this snapshot is showing data for the period, but downloaded in February 2028. So if we look at this data now, we will not see the similar result, but this is also why it is important to use forward-looking data, to use data that are updated constantly on a daily basis, so that will give us really the information we need to monitor the market and to make sure that we can target the right travelers at the right time. Let me move forward. Let's now turn our focus to Central America. In Central America, we see slightly different trends. Our searches, results from the report show that searches are slightly lower compared to the average we are seeing for the full Americas region. Costa Rica is leading as the most searched destination country, with San Jose and Liberia among the top destination cities. And we also see, and it's worth highlighting, the strong growth of San Salvador and Liberia, both in searches and in bookings, which confirm the positive trends that this destination have seen in 2023. A year where they have break different tourism record compared to the previous year and compared to pre-pandemic levels. And I think we have seen that also in the results from the UN Tourism Barometer. Travel interest for Central America is mainly driven by the US, which also explain this lower search volume, as the US is a market that tend to book and plan their trip to Central America quite last minute, I would say. So they have a shorter lead times. We also see from the data that there is a rising interest in travel to Central America from South American countries. as we have the top search market with the highest growth includes Colombia, Argentina, Chile, and Brazil. It's very important that all the industry stakeholders that are involved in the promotion of this destination in this region monitor these trends, are like understanding what are the emerging markets will give new opportunities to promote our destination in new markets. Using the data to inform our strategy is very important because allow us to not only understand what are the markets that we need to target, but also to understand how the traveler behavior changes from different markets. As for example, again, we will probably need to adopt different strategy for countries like the US and countries from Colombia, Argentina, or Chile that have different lead times. If we move to the Caribbean region, we see a continuing positive trends, which confirms what we have seen already for the sub-region in 2023, with increasing search volumes that surpassing 2023 levels. The Dominican Republic continue to be the most searched destination country in the region, with an increased share of searches, and with Punta Cana being the most popular destination, followed by San Juan and Montego Bay. In the Caribbean, we really see a shift in preferences among international travelers, with some countries gaining prominence with an increased share of searches like Turks and Caicos and Trinidad and Tobago, for example, with others experiencing a slight difference in travel interest. These trends really, once again, highlight the understanding of this data and open up the opportunity to different stakeholders to cooperate to offer new and customized products, for example, to the travelers. For example, in the Caribbean, a multi-country approach could be adopted where different destinations collaborate together to offer packages that allow travelers to experience various cities in the Caribbean. The US and Europe remain the main source market in terms of travel interest for the Caribbean region. However, we also see that Argentina and Brazil are entering the top 5, and we hence see in the Caribbean as well a growth opportunity in the South American markets. These trends are also reflected in the air capacity and the traffic for the Caribbean, where we see that the busiest routes are very dependent on North America and in Europe. If we look at the top book destination, we see that if we look at data that have been downloaded at the end of February 2024, that we see that Punta Cana, Montego Bay, and Aruba are leading the ranking. However, if we really look at the data now, and this is what we have done as of today, we see that there is a slight shift in the ranking, with Punta Cana and Montego Bay maintaining their top position, but with San Juan, Nassau, and Aruba entering the top 5. This change can be attributed to the strong reliance of this destination on the US market, which tend to book again 14 days of travels within 14 days of travelers. And once again, it emphasizes the needs to monitor and looking at data, or really using data to our strategy every day. If we now look at the South America data is also up for a strong recovery compared to last year, especially for the month of August, where we see a 43% increase. Brazil, Argentina, and Colombia lead the ranking in terms of top search destination, with most popular city being Buenos Aires, São Paulo, and Santiago. In terms of origin market, I think that in South America, we see a very interesting trend, which is that the growth is really driven by regional market, where we see that on the top 5, we have Brazil, Argentina, and Chile, which are 3 markets that are growing a lot year over year in terms of interest in traveling in the region. I think it's important for stakeholders in this sub-region to really monitor this regional market and ensure that the right strategy is in place to cater to this market and to tailor their messaging specifically for regional travelers. Travel interest from the US is also on the rise, and US routes remains the busiest one. In terms of most booked destination, we can see that Lima is emerging as a destination in South America for travelers that are planning their trip in advance, growing its share of booking by 7%. However, here what I would like to highlight is that we see a similar shift of what we have seen in the Caribbean region. If we compare this data to what we have downloaded today with the same travel period. As we see a slight shift with Buenos Aires now leading the ranking as the most booked destination in the region, followed by Lima and Santiago. I think this trend is important because it suggests that bookings to Buenos Aires are mainly driven by regional markets that have a shorter lead times compared to the origin market to Lima that prefers to plan their trip in advance. So in conclusion, I think that the data presented today really underscored the dynamic nature of the travel industry in the Americas region. And we really believe that by leveraging this forward-looking data, destination can adapt their strategies to meet these evolving travel preferences and capitalize on emerging opportunity. I think, as we all know, we are in a tourist landscape that is constantly evolving, and it's really important to understand the nuances of each sub-region and of each country, and of each cities, I would say, to drive a sustainable tourist growth and deliver exceptional travel experiences for the travelers that will come and visit our destination. I would like to thank you all for your attention, and we have here the QR code from which you can download the report.
Thank you very much, Caterina. We will leave the QR code there so that people have time to do the picture and take it. I'd like to ask if there's any questions. I know we're just on our timing, but if there is questions, please use the Q&A function. We're more than happy to ask any specifics to Caterina or to Javier. Both presentations will also be available to you afterwards, so that if you want to dwell into them in more detail. I think this is also an important tool, as Caterina said, for you to plan your destinations, also to benchmark. Look at how the region and your sub-region is doing and how your own country is doing. Very clearly, the recovery from Asia is starting to come, but also the importance of the interregional market, as it's always been for the Americas, and the importance of reinforcing air capacity between the regions in the different parts of the Americas. So I don't see any questions. Maybe, Caterina, just before we close, also just for you to share with us, how can stakeholders take best use of this also for their strategies? We've seen that there's the booking data, which opens opportunities. There's also the search part, and sometimes not all searches are naturally converted into bookings for several reasons. If you can maybe just share a little bit of that, and then we will thank everyone, and again, make sure that this information is available to all that have followed us today.
Yeah, I think just in a nutshell, I think it's very important to, again, monitor data constantly, starting from the searches and understand who is looking to travel to my destination, from which country, from which city, and really make sure that I target and do my strategies based on the search data I see to understand untapped opportunities as well, and then see when they book, to understand the search lead time, the booking lead time, and understand really what is my the time I have to target my potential travelers, to what is the message that I have to convey, because probably the messaging will be different if I see a traveler wants to come, like is planning to come to my destination 3 months in advance or like 1 month in advance. And then make sure that it books to my destination. I think we really, for destination, it's important to really be present on all the phases of a traveler's, of the planning, all the planning phases, sorry, of a travelers to come to my destination, to make sure that a traveler is converted and will come to my destination. So I think, just to conclude, like, the most important thing is to understand who is interested in traveling to my destination, and what is the time and the lead time that I have to make sure that I'm present as a destination in all the planning phases, and that these travelers will be eventually coming to my destination.
Thank you, Katerina. I think the conversion part is very important. Sometimes we look just at booking, and it's quite important to look at the searches as well to understand the timeline as well, and definitely the booking window. We don't have much more time, but we do have a question from our colleagues in Trinidad and Tobago on how can they receive specific information on Trinidad and Tobago. I think this is just an appetizer. You can actually go to the report. There's much more information in the report in detail than it is now, because we had limited time. Explore it in detail. If you don't have the opportunity to take it from here, we will send you the link afterwards to everyone that has registered, so you can easily access it. Go there and find, and if there's any specific information that's not there, reach out to us, and we will coordinate with you. So with that said, I really want to thank everyone that joined us this afternoon, morning. Also, again, to thank our affiliate member Amadeus, to thank Katerina and the team for the partnership, and also to let you know that this is an ongoing program. So there will be an update in September, and we'll be happy to share with you that update as well. And again, feel free to reach out to us for any other specifics. As I said, we will be sharing the details of the report with you after this by email, so that you can also have it quicker at hand. Once again, thank you so much, Katerina, and thank you everyone who joined today. And we look forward to see you on another occasion.
Thank you very much.
Have a good afternoon or morning.
Bye.